So much for agreeing to do this interview today. Could you tell our audience a little bit about yourself before we begin?
Hi, I'm 27 years old. I grew up in a small town in Northern California. I graduated from UCSB and I'm currently working in Glida in a small medical office.
Well, as we begin, could you just tell our viewers briefly what alcohol use disorder is?
Yeah, thank you for having me. According to the National Institute of Health, alcohol use disorder is a chronic relapsing disease that involves compulsive alcohol use. The user loses physical and psychological control over their alcohol intake.
And are there any predispositions that people may have that can make them prone to this disorder?
Yes, the major predisposing factor is genetic inheritance. My parents, for example, both struggle with alcohol abuse. There is something in my parents' genes, as well as my genes, that gives our brain a very large reward when we drink alcohol. Scientists have shown that greater endorphin release is associated with binge drinking, but how this behavior affects those who are genetically predisposed is still being studied.
Interesting. So, alcohol use disorder truly is a biological disorder. What can someone with alcohol use disorder expect to experience once they recognize that they have a problem?
Speaking from experience, they will most likely believe that they can quit cold turkey. But what most people don't realize is that this can cause alcohol deprivation effect.
So is this a physical craving for alcohol?
For the most part, yes, but users may also start changing their social behaviors. They may start isolating themselves from friends and family because they drink.
Cold turkey work? If not, what would happen next?
Usually, it does not work. In my experience, after accumulating a few months worth of sobriety, I rewarded myself with what I believed would just be 1 glass of wine. The next day, I found myself drinking 3 glasses of wine. The day after that, a mixture of wine and hard alcohol and so forth.
And did you experience any mental or physical symptoms from excessive alcohol consumption?
Yes, and they were very dangerous. I started developing digestive problems since heavy alcohol consumption causes stomach lining inflammation. My doctor also warned me that I could develop liver disease, menstruation issues, bone damage, and the list goes on.
And what motivated you to seek help after the last time that you relapsed?
I actually experienced seizures. I completely lost motor control and it was a very traumatic experience for me.
What methods have you tried using to help you combat alcohol use disorder, and have they been effective?
I've tried rehab, which did not work and is very expensive. I tried hypnotherapy, AA meetings, exercising, and eating healthy. None of these methods worked for me, although they could really help others.
Well, I understand that AA has been very helpful for many others. Could you share a little bit why it didn't work out for you?
Yeah, of course. Personally, I believe AA did not work for me because the meetings only lasted for an hour each day, and then I was alone. I found it so much more effective to open up to my friends and family where I could have a support system 24/7.
Were there any methods that did work for you?
Currently, I'm trying a medication called naltrexone. It works by blocking the opioid response in the brain. Basically, it removes the reward response for alcohol consumption by blocking endorphin release. I take this medication before any planned drinking events. This medication, however, has not been proven to work for everyone.
Well, that's good news. Is there anything else you'd like to tell our viewers about yourself, alcohol, or relapse before we finish up today?
Yes, about 80 to 90% of people do not seek treatment for AUD, and up to 90% of those who do seek treatment end up relapsing within the first 4 years. Humiliating alcohol abusers does not work and in fact makes the individuals get worse. Many people suffer for a decade before seeking help. Remember that if someone is suffering from AUD, it does not necessarily mean that they have no support network.
Well, thank you so much for sharing this information with us today, Sarah.
Of course, you're welcome.